Good afternoon and welcome to Talking Horses. No, this is not Andy Sterling. I'm Maggie Wolfendahl. Andy getting a deserved day off, but pleased to be joined by my good friend Anthony Stabile for this Sunday edition. And despite Anthony Scratches only coming out 2 minutes ago, did not lose any major players in today's card.
No, should be a good day of racing as we wrap up the month of November. Ridiculous.
Crazy.
Less than a week away from our Cigar Mile. Excited for that. We had a great weekend of racing in the books. Wrap up Churchill Downs, wrap up Del Mar. We're still going strong though. The Big A, we're your winter warrior. We'll be here with you through the middle of April. So
as always, we are here in South Ozone Park, Queens. We are fast and firm, though the one major defection we had on today's card was actually a rider. Rod Ortiz off his mounts today. We'll try to keep you updated on those rider changes. Apparent stomach bug, as this was going to be his fourth track in a week. He was at Zia Park on Tuesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday, right?
Tuesday and Wednesday. No, just Tuesday.
Land of Enchantment Day? Yeah.
Yeah. Rode 3 stakes winners for Steve Asmussen. Churchill Friday. Yesterday, Del Mar won the Jimmy Durante. Speaking of Del Mar, we have a good bonus for them as we'll get to those slates in just a second. And that's your cue, Francisco. Let's get them. All right. NYRA Bets, as always, we have that sign-up bonus. I mean, what are you doing if you're not signed up, right?
Gotta keep the money in the game. Andy says it all the time. He's 100% right. He's not right about everything, but he's certainly right about that. You gotta keep the money in the game.
And you gotta use promo code BONUS200. And as I mentioned, Del Mar, their closing day, as well as Churchill. But we have a good promo with them coming up as well. There it is, 10% win bet. But, you know, Francisco's not used to my timing. We're gonna have to like ease him into it.
He's a little slow.
It's like riding, you know.
Today.
Yeah. So, anyways, 10% win bet bonus. Make sure you check out nyrabets.com and opt in.
Yes, very important to opt in.
That's right. As we also have America's Day at the Races. A little bit of a funny schedule. We're back on Fox today after a little bit of a hiatus yesterday on Saturday. FS1 to start things off, as well as FS2. And then we're strictly on FS2 from 12 to 4, and then back on FS1 from 4 to 6:30. You'll be joining the show today. We'll also have Liza Hendricks on us. And then we will have Jonathan Kinchin, Frank Lyons from Churchill Downs.
Cavalcade of stars today.
Greg Wolf and Richard Migliori. But let's jump right into the action.
This shot is amazing right now because you're about a foot taller
I look like
than me. You know what it's like?
Giant orange.
For those of you who don't know, I call Maggie my racing Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. So it's about right, because if I'm Tyrion, you're supposed to have about a foot on me. This is about right.
Slowly going down. There, is that better?
That's perfect.
A little bit more equal.
That was like a foot.
Now my knees are up in my chest. But race number 1 kicks off the action for the 2-year-olds, mile and an eighth on the outer turf course here at the Big A. And we see 3 horses coming out of the similar November 7th race, including Paratus, City at Night, and Ruthenian. And let's take a look at the start of this race, Anthony, where I think first we see Paratus just completely steadied back here. Oop, there he goes, bounce off his back. Good job. So he's losing all position. Then Ruthenian joins in the strangle back. I think, horses were possibly crossing over on him, but resentful to the hold that's being taken, as we do see the 6th horse, I think, back up into his face a little bit here. We'll see him throw his head a bit here in the replay as nope, we missed it. Anyway, he did do that, but talk about Ruthenian with the wide trip he then received.
It's a tale of 2 trips, Maggie, and it's funny because neither trip is good. They're both really, really bad trips. Ruthenian, who I prefer out of this race because of the ground loss, and I think you're going to get a slightly better price. I mean, this is a no-chance trip. This horse is just, was able to try to get over a little bit early on, but the truth of the matter is, from the wide draw, had a tough go of it around there. Paratus, on the other hand, you saw the start with the steady, immediately steadied out of position, and then consistently lost ground and just wasn't able to run at any point in the race. Junior Alvarado had to eat him pretty much around there. They can both win here today. The difference for me is going to be, I think off of that trip and off of Paratus's debut, Paratus is going to take a lot of money here today because of that trip last time out. And
don't you think Ruthenian might too?
I think Ruthenian will take some money, but I don't think he will take anywhere near the amount of money. that Paratus is going to take, because it certainly looked like Paratus just had no chance at all to do any running that day. So I think he'll take more money. They can both win. All three of the horses out of that race.
Well, I mean, you could also
win.
make the case for City at Night, because that pace was somewhat quick.
It was.
And he was right on top of it, and he was kind of the one just to stay on.
He didn't go anywhere. That, which is kind of
For a
impressive,
mile
right?
and an eighth,
that
he
opening
could
quarter,
control.
if we're to believe that opening quarter, and it looked like they were mixing it up pretty good in that opening quarter, right? I think it's kind of hard to trust the fact that did they really go 22 and 4 and then go almost 26 to the second quarter?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. But the fact is, whatever the pace was, he attended and stayed around. Now, he has a couple of two-turn races under his belt, one at Kentucky Downs, one at Laurel, so he's a little bit more of the seasoned. He's the more seasoned of these three, with 3 races and all of them around 2 turns. So they'll get the 2 turns today, and they'll get the mile and an eighth today. I don't remember us running races for the 2-year-olds this early at a mile and an eighth. Yeah? I was trying to think of a couple.
I mean,
of
we
horses
definitely
last
had
year.
him on the dirt.
Yeah,
I
on
mean,
the
we
dirt.
used to have that one race at the end of Saratoga.
They had it
mile
this year.
and an
They
eighth.
had it
Right.
this year, right? I just didn't remember them on the turf. You might be right. But yeah, I wanted the horses out of that race, and I thought Ruthenian was going to be the best price of the 3.
Fair. I would agree with you. I don't know if you get, I mean, David's usually incredibly accurate, but I just thought, given the way that the Christophe Lamont barn seems to get bet, I thought that might take a little bit more money than the morning line would suggest.
Perhaps.
My interesting horse in here is number 1, Eminent Storm, who I really played with putting on top, trying the turf for the first time for Shib McGahee. Now I get it. Flounder is not a great influence when switching to the turf. Did have him entered for the turf down at Laurel, and he's a horse that he's kind of a notes horse for me, Stabile, in that I had written he moves like a turf horse when I had seen him up at Saratoga, and he's just one that's just going to keep galloping. I don't know how much turn of a foot he has, so I'd like to see him forwardly placed here trying the turf. The dam did break her maiden on the turf. There isn't an abundance of pedigree, but always with these Phipps pedigrees, you're going to have some turf influence.
Should debuted him at 7/8 in Saratoga, brought him back in just 19 days for that aforementioned mile and an eighth race, and then shipped him out of town to try the turf, going a mile and an eighth that came off the turf. He had a couple of dirt races you left him in. Obviously, this is a horse Sugar's been looking to get some ground for, and more often than not, those races are on the turf.
First time starter, number 4, Principality, a half to Toby's Heart. Interesting pedigree there.
Interesting to run. That's an interesting cross by Commissioner, who of course was his best race was second in the second on dirt in the Belmont Stakes, to a horse whose really best distances are 6 furlongs and less on the turf.
Yeah, but
So
she is by Jack Milton,
yeah.
as my brother Cam, also a first-time starter for Michael Dickinson, currently very early in the proceedings. 7-2, Dam broke her maiden. On the turf, it's their first full. The Dam half to a Group 3 winner in France. As we move on to race number 2, take out number 1, a girl named Jack. Here, going the mile on the inner turf course. And we both went in different directions, as I opted for the drop down first time for a tag for Bill Mott. And this is, I mean, uncharted territory for you. You've gone against Bill Mott in the first 2 races of the day, where I'm full head of steam on Mr. Mott.
Yeah, my stepfather Pete checked my temperature before I left the house. Just wanted to make sure everything was okay. I don't really like this horse. You know, I know they say the best hop's a drop. I don't know what happened to this filly's form, because when this filly early on in her career looked like she was going to be okay.
She seems like she liked Gulfstream. For whatever reason, her best races came at Gulfstream, and I thought possibly the configuration getting back here. But then again, you know, Monmouth, similar. I don't know. But for whatever reason, she seemed to like Gulfstream
it's
best.
something. And, you know, Bill's tried everything with her, from running her a mile and a quarter, 4 starts back, to running her 6 furlongs last time out. Now you see another 2-month break. She had a 2.5 month break earlier this year. If you're playing a pick, and this is one of these things that Andy and I talk about all the time on the show. If you're playing a pick 4 or a pick 5 in a condition claiming race, you're not going to let her beat you in the sequence. But she's going to be 2-1. And off of her last 4 races, I don't have a lot of excuses. He sent her over to Monmouth to race. I don't have any excuses for her. She's just been flat out bad, and she's kind of just regressed with every start. For me, she was a tough pill to swallow at 2-1, which is what she's going to be first time for a tag. I can't imagine she's higher than that.
I just thought Bill Mott had good numbers. First time for a tag on the turf. He's 19 for 87, so that's 22%. And then I kind of filtered in this sprint to route angle, and he's 3 for 8 when doing that combined with the former stat too. So I just thought that speaked highly of her chances in this spot here, because you went with number 8. That's 2 Cent Tootsie, who does drop out of the Ticonderoga and the John Hettinger. Well, she didn't run badly in the John Hettinger, which was kind of more of a merry-go-round type of race. And we did see Timeless Journey come back and win yesterday too. So did you like the drop back down for her? But to be fair, she was not effective in this condition.
She wasn't effective in the condition, but those races were at Saratoga, and she really hasn't had that much success. And she hasn't had much success anyway, but the Saratoga races left a little to be desired. Now she gets some class relief. She gets a big rider upgrade to Kendra Carmouche. She's going to be forward in a race where I don't necessarily trust any of these to really want to pass horses. I would imagine Blame the Gods, the number 5, the number 6, even Tappan Z are going to show a little speed. But Kendrick's going to be aggressive, I would imagine, for Tommy Albatrani aboard this filly. And I just hope Mayor, I should say, and I just hope he keeps her close. He's in close enough attendance to make the lead at some point, turn it for home. Like I said, you're not going to let Kissing Frogs beat you, but on top, I wanted to have a little bit of a price alternative.
We both included number 2, More Good Times. Her biggest problem is, well, A, kind of getting out of the gate, which we saw her just break a bit slowly and therefore pinch back at the start in her first start for Jorge Abreu. And it's just that lack of speed where there's really not that much speed in this race. So how is she going to be effective here, though, based upon numbers, based upon her last effort? She's a player.
Yeah, she gets, her success for the most part has come at the fairgrounds, that big long stretch at the fairgrounds. And for a filly who does not break particularly well, not even breaking, she just doesn't have any speed early on.
No, she's slow.
That long stretch kind of helps her out.
All right, as we will move on to race number 3 on the main track, going the 6 furlongs, and this is a 12.5 claimer to take out the inside runner cover photo. And this race kind of centers around Buston Bay, and what do you get from her? Do you trust her? Second start here for Juan Vasquez, switching back to the main track, back into a similar condition in which he picked her up out of, and she looks as though she could, she's not that fast, but still in this spot, looks as though she could control.
She could be in front here. And that sounds so strange going
so
through
strange.
I would think Amos, the number 5, could show some speed in here. I would like to see my top pick, No Deal, show some speed. Last time out, this horse didn't have the best of breaks, and I don't know. I'm hoping she can break alertly today and maybe be a part of the pace. Again, Buston Bay kind of falls, and Jose Loscano is going to ride Buston Bay. You see a lot of time between her races, 4 or 5 weeks. For a bottom-level claimer, I don't think it's to be unexpected, but it's certainly not a good sign. Her one win came when she was in the Carl Broberg barn for her first off the claim. In a dead heat up at Saratoga in a state bred. But she's another one. I don't know how you can trust her with all of the 4 and 5 week gaps in her form, and she gets another one here. She's won at Aqueduct. She's had limited starts in a field full of horses that have run a zillion times, it feels like. But you're looking at a horse that's going to be somewhere in the even money range, and I don't know if I trust her.
Now, I admit, I can bear the moniker Chalk Eating Weasel today, in which we were discussing this. I was like, I picked so many favorites on today's card. I was like, the only one I didn't pick was the Linda Rice horse in the last. And
I covered that.
That was the one I picked, the only favorite I picked today. So we cover it all. But I just thought it's a weird race going the 6 furlongs in which everybody else is pretty much turning back, and the ones that aren't turning back just really don't have the class. And Gentle Annie, she needs a complete pace collapse to be effective, I think, and I don't think she's necessarily going to get it here. And what do you do with Flashing Red? Yes, her last start on the dirt, way back when, August of 2020, she attended a pace going the 6.5 furlongs, in which she won. And really, her dirt races prior to that, based upon figures, aren't that bad. They make her a player here, but her form on her preferred surface, the turf, has just gone the wrong way as the blinkers do go on for this cut back surface change and drop down.
Yeah, and what are you going to do with her now? Is you're not shipping her to Florida in the form she's in for the turf. You got to see if she can dirt for the winter, or you got to, I don't know, turn her out, maybe send her to Tampa. I don't know what you're going to do with her.
She has just not looked the same.
No, she hasn't. You would
I-
know. You had her in the barn.
Yeah.
You know, she just hasn't looked the same. I don't disagree. But those dirt races, she's hit the board in 5 of her 6 dirt races. And if Boston Bay does not show up here, you know, you brought up the distance as well. No Deal and Gentle Annie. Only 2 horses to have won going 3/4 of a mile in this field, which is rare for 6 furlongs. When you see a field of 8 with the horses that have run so many times, only 2 of these horses have won going 3/4.
My deal with No Deal is that she's turned into a complete crazy person, where she has to leave the paddock early. She has to go the right way around to the gate. She refuses to go, and furthermore, random people walking into the studio, as we see.
Who you like in the third?
Got nothing. No opinion. I mean, what the heck? Why at the track? No, I'm kidding. Two, it looked as though she wanted to get out in her last start. And another bug boy goes on again today.
Maggie telling me that she's went crazy. It makes a lot of sense that I picked her now.
Yeah, see, you like the crazy ladies. No, I'm kidding, you don't. As race number 4, going a mile on the main track for the state-bred horses here, and another heavy favorite.
I like Water's Edge.
Oh, there! You
I like
picked a
Water's
favorite.
Edge.
There's 2 on the card for you. How do you look past him? How do you look past him?
Now,
We'll take a look at his last race at Belmont on September 24th.
Now, this is one.
Now, see, he breaks through the gate,
breaks through
along
the
with the
gate.
horse who did finish 3rd in Barrage.
How good did they both run? Right, Barrage probably not even on his preferred surface. This horse ran his eyeballs out.
He had to switch to the inside of the eventual winner in Prince of Pharaohs. It felt like it could have been one of those kind of Belmont balcony days where wider trips seemed to be a little bit more advantageous. He had to switch back down to the rail. I know he has not run back to that figure that he ran when breaking his maiden in his 2nd start, but he still doesn't run badly
Kept on
there.
coming at Prince of Pharaohs after everything. He's burned a lot of money.
That's the thing.
2 starts back, he got himself involved in a pace that he probably didn't need to get himself involved in. Right? Him, She Kisses, broke from the outside draw, just pressed the entire way. Probably didn't need to get involved in that mayhem. Last time out, kind of caused his own problems breaking through the starting gate. Ran exceptionally well, I thought, after that. And now he finds a spot, and unlike some of the other favorites we've spoke about today, Kissing Frogs, Boston Bay, I feel like there's despite the fact that he's burned a lot of money in his last 2, he's kind of had excuses. And now I think is a horse you can have some confidence in, not just because of his ability, but man, if they went around the barn area and picked the A of that end field to run against, they probably couldn't have selected a bunch of horses they'd rather run against. I think the horse with the most upside could be Full Moon Fever,
Okay.
who came out. That's a late scratch.
Well, that is a very late scratch.
I did not have full. So
Neither did I.
good thing we caught. So I mean, I had originally had Full Moon Fever 3rd, just off the layoff. I mean, if Scotto's the horse to beat, Scotto couldn't win the two life for a quarter and for 40. And I think Scotto is his main rival here today. I mean, this horse is supposed to get out of this condition.
There is not a fiber in my being, as much as I love Rudy Rodriguez, that can pick Scotto. That can even have him second here, as I don't even have him in my top 4.
I know.
I know he's run some decent races as of late, but that last field.
You're not wrong. I have
the turf, better turf horse. He's the lone dirt horse.
Listen. I have no. At the very least, he's picking. He made some ground up last time.
Biggest threat to Water's Edge in here is number 4, Emperor's Cause, whom I think the pace did kind of not necessarily come apart, because Purple Hearted actually ran really well, but the horse that Purple Hearted dueled with on the front end finished way back,
right.
A logical player too, and Emperor's Cause was right there on it, and the winner did. It was a race, I think, or a day I think you wanted to be more towards the inside, and he was chasing and attending wide for half of the race, for the latter half of the race, where the winner did ride the rail most of the way. So I thought, yes, these are lower profile connections, does get Luis Saez to ride once again. And that last race at least does make him a major factor in here. It's, can he run back to it?
Yeah, busting the rules on number 3 comes in off of some Finger Lakes form. That's the horse you put second.
It's just love for Charlie Baker, to be honest. But and I kind of thought he projected to sit the right trip.
Okay.
Because tactically, I mean, what does Jorge Vargas do with Water's Edge? He's got to be aggressive from that inside post position. Though I think exit right's probably just a touch faster than him.
Yeah, and you'd have to see what's the intent of Ruben Silvera aboard exit right.
Right.
You know, and this is a horse who probably should have got out of this condition 2 starts ago. That got himself involved in a speed duel and is still in this condition because of that speed duel.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when they break. I think we kind of know.
How it unfolds early.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
As race number 5, maiden special weight for the New York Breds on the turf, mile and 16th inner turf course, and
this was another favorite. It wasn't the only favorite I picked. We picked Miguel Clement. Sorry, buddy.
I kind of feel bad picking this horse without Acacia here.
Well, as surrogate big brother, I feel like I am allowed to take Mr. Connecticut and call Miguel Mr. Connecticut today. I'm kind of taking Acacia's role.
I have no problem
Nobody
calling
ever
Miguel
would make that.
Mr. Connecticut.
Nobody would ever make that correlation, by the way. Acacia, Courtney, and Anthony Stabile. But yeah, I mean, this horse.
Well, it's the A Train.
It's the A Train.
This horse ran really well in his second start, and you know, it was
I thought he ran okay in his first start, but I think even though his figure only improved a couple of points, I thought he really matured and improved.
He was so much more professional. Yeah. And it was a weird pace race, and it was very slow. I mean, I looked at Trackus, and Trackus actually had it a little bit slower.
Wow.
Than that. So, I mean, I think with that, you almost have to really downgrade Bernardino, as we need to show the replay of that race with Mr. Connecticut, Bernardino, and Umbria, both of which coming out. We see Bernardino, the nearly white 6-year-old maiden, setting the pace here. Umbria in between. I was really disappointed in Umbria's performance here. Linda Rice then subsequently went to the dirt. He ran okay there, and now she's back in the turf. It's like, she doesn't know what to do with this horse.
Well, he's a nice horse to have for the simple fact that it seems like he's, I don't want to say equally talented, but he certainly seems that he can get the job done on both surfaces. That's useful, especially now if he doesn't get out of the maiden ranks today. You don't have to worry about what you're going to do with him for the winter because he ran well enough on the dirt last time. But you give him one more shot. The draw does no favors to Mr. Connecticut or Umbria.
No.
No favors at all.
No. You know, the thing with Mr. Connecticut, though, I feel as though he wants to kind of drop back so he could find himself, you know, dropped in, tucked in, whereas Umbria, he has that early speed, and to not use it with him, you also run the risk of being hung wide.
Yeah, you don't want to get hung wide.
The other interesting horse I thought in here, you have him fourth, I have him second, is Action Jackson, who's been running against Open Company. Yes, he's missed a lot of time not running against New York Breds and not running on the racetrack. But I thought his first race against State Bred Company this time last year, Strong to Gold, Ruse, they're multiple winners now. He met a quality field. Blinkers do go on. I know that last race leaves a little bit of a sour taste, but a mile and 3/16 off of the long 10-month layoff.
Back in 10 days, that screams.
He needed it.
Let's tighten this horse up in a horse race as opposed to getting so. And you know what, Mags? This horse only has 5 workouts since the January race. Yeah. So maybe he's just not a horse that likes to train in the morning. They're slow works, right? They're pedestrian works for the most part. Maybe he's just a horse that doesn't like to train. A horse like that, as you can attest to, will get more out of one race than he might out of 3 works.
Yeah.
So running him back. This was an interesting race. If these draws were flipped, I would have a lot more confidence in Mr. Connecticut and Umbria. For me in the early pick 5, I want to use all 4 of these horses now, and you put yourself in a position where you're hoping a horse like Action Jackson, who's going to be the best price. We both have Zapman in there as well. I think he's a little interesting.
So green going 7/8 first time, and he wants more distance. So he's definitely a logical player switching back to the turf. Well, that will do it for the first 5 here on this Aqueduct card, which does kick off the pick 6, race number 5. So stay tuned. We will touch on the late pick 5 after this break.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us here on Talking Horses. Maggie Wolfendale, Anthony Stabile here on this Sunday card. And Stabile, we've had, what, now with today's card, we'll have 10 stake races over this three-day holiday weekend.
You know, everybody, of course, plenty of reasons to love Cigar Mile weekend. I love this. This weekend has really turned into a fun weekend, right? Because this used to be Cigar Mile weekend.
Right.
We've kind of just moved everything to get some more Breeders' Cup support,
spreading the action,
which is great. But I mean, with the new stakes program and stuff, the 10 stakes races, a lot of fun this weekend.
And a lot of turf action as well. We're not quite there yet, but it's coming up as we do kick off the late pick 5 here with race number 6. A really good optional allowance going the mile. And again, I'm the Chalk Fest person, as you went with number 2, Little Commissioner.
Yeah,
I went back and forth with this horse. I know we probably didn't want any bit of 7 furlongs for the fact that he's a horse that wants a little bit more ground. And wired that day, we're wondering where Craig is off the long layoff. But aren't there some other horses to apply pressure on him here? And furthermore, he feels like a little bit of a Cinderella type of horse, where he got really good there for Rob Atras, and then you kind of look back at the horses that he beat and you wonder, were they as good as the horses he meets here today?
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that.
He was very murky.
I feel like he doesn't have to be on the lead. I know he's really fast. I feel like he doesn't have to be on the lead. I think Kendrick's the right guy on his back, because Kendrick will play the break. I know that's some trainer speak, but he'll play the break, and he'll figure, or jockey speak in this case, and he'll figure out what to do. How much pressure is being applied? How many fellow riders are being aggressive? We know that that's not, that line is not very long here, Maggie. So, you know, maybe if Kendrick is the aggressor, he can go, but I think he'll play the break here. I don't think this horse really wants any part of any wet track, let alone, you know, in the bold rule or off that 10-month break. And now he comes back. He gets back to a track that he's done had a lot of success at. He's 4 for 7 at the mile distance. A lot of those races were around one turn. I know he won going the mile at Old Calder in the mud, but that was against fellow Florida breds. He kind of just bossed those horses around. A lot of his successes come around the one turn at the mile, and like I said, he's run well here. He's going to be an interesting enough price. First, there are really no knocks on First Constitution. Couple of starts in this country, got his act together last time. Speaker's Corner came back and ran really well yesterday in our Discovery. No knocks.
And he has tactical position. I feel like his hand isn't quite as forced as it has been in his last 2 efforts, as he draws more outside today. He's a horse that I progressively have watched just physically develop and mentally develop. He was an utter mess in the paddock up at Saratoga. And 2, he had that aluminum pad on. But the fact that Todd kept in his morning workouts, breezing him with stakes caliber, graded stakes winners week after week, spoke to the fact that Todd and Connections felt as though he's a horse with talent. Yes, maybe has he disappointed them a little bit? Sure, but he did have trouble 2 back, and then last time we saw what Speaker's Corner did. I mean, I don't want to downgrade him too much for the fact that he was defeated yesterday, because I think he still ran well into the Discovery, but I just couldn't really get past him, because you're dealing with a lot of horses, the ones that seem talented enough that maybe are coming in off of disappointing performances. Now, what do you do with a horse like Prioritize, who you've completely left off? He's been running against far better horses this year. There's only 3 starts, though, in 2021. A horse that does run by appointment only, but does get to return on Lasix.
See, and I felt like your 2020, I felt like your what you said about the Cinderella story applies more to him than anybody else in here. He had a real good 2020 season, and then that form has just eluded him. He's run against much, much better. Problem is, I'm not too convinced if he was in money allowance races and $80,000 optional claimers, he wouldn't have run the same races he ran in the Pimlico Special or the Suburban. Because when he got the class relief in the Alley Dar, he ran his worst race yet. And now you see the break from Saratoga
Was that
to
really
now.
class relief, though? I mean, Art Collector's very good.
No, I guess in theory.
There's no Art Collectors. There's
No,
not even any really night offs.
There's no Max Players. There's no Last Judgments here either.
Right.
But he's done no running in these races.
Yeah.
He's really, it's really hard to, and now he's going to, now I know he's run okay at the mile, but don't we think he's a little bit better with a little bit more distance as well? He's kind of playing
No,
the
I
game.
think he gets more pace to run into possibly at a mile.
You might be right.
At a one-turn mile. I don't love him, but I thought he could be dangerous in here. I ultimately went with First Constitution just because I think he's a horse that they've had high hopes for, and I think he realizes it today.
Yeah.
So Kristen Dave I thought was a little bit intriguing here.
Yeah,
Okay, Francisco, we've already kind of talked about him. But anyway, Kristen Dave, a little bit interesting too. When Linda shows confidence in these horses, a horse with tons of back class who consistently runs well. I mean, he's a really cool horse. 16 wins out of 73 starts. And, you know, he just kind of shows up and runs his race for whoever has him. He's going to be forwardly placed in here, too.
Yeah, we'll see how the early pick 5 on the start of the early pick 5 unfolds in race 6.
All right, race number 7, the Autumn Days first stakes race for the fillies and mares going the 6 furlongs. We'll see if Change of Control can get back to her winning ways here and go 2 for 2, but she did win up here in the NYRA circuit for Michelle Lovell, who seems to have a real handle on these sprinters, especially turf sprinters. And Change of Control, she'll face Pieta Bianchi again, who she faced in that Intercontinental. But her last race that we'll check out here, which was the Buffalo Trace of Franklin County, Grade 3. Just really long title for a stake.
It is.
I mean, look, we
That
had
is
the
not
American Grand Prix.
That is not the Buffalo Trace Franklin County, I can tell you that.
Francisco, brutal.
Francisco, we're not talking about these Saturday night excursions, Francisco.
I mean,
Really
I
gonna
know.
have to.
It's like, is he having brunch in there?
You know,
Mimosas?
Pieta-
Mimosas in the truck?
Do you know your
Bloody Marys?
top selection in here, Pieta Bianchi?
So let's show the Keeneland race.
Well, here it
Thanks.
is. There we go.
Yeah. So if you can make her out, she is the one with the white bridle, white face. She will be running down Ambassador Luna here. And, you know, for me, when she's sprinting on the turf, she just shows up.
Yeah, she does.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter as far as pace. She just gets the job done. She got the job done in a slow pace, 7 furlong Intercontinental. I don't know. I slightly, obviously, went against her and the
Me
horse
too.
that she beat because I just thought Pieta Bianchi would be a better price. And Pieta Bianchi, for me, she looks to be the speed in here. Hopefully they are aggressive with her. And I've always thought she looked like a turf sprinter. And what has she done this year? Well, she ran second in the Grade 3 Intercontinental, and then she won the Smart and Fancy.
$800 away from being the leading Indiana-bred filly and mare money earner of all time.
That's
She
awesome.
will get that today.
And look, I get running her in her last race because
Yeah.
you take advantage of those Indiana-bred races.
Yeah,
So it's,
she's won a handful of them. She's so cool. When you think of Indiana now, it's Larry Bird and Pieta Bianchi, right? I mean, what else would that?
Yeah,
what else is there?
totally.
She's a nice
The
filly.
Sports Hall of
I've
Fame,
always been a fan.
Indiana.
Carlos Martin's had her last 2 seasons, and he's done a fantastic job with her finding these spots. Right? She'll earn close to $500,000 over her last 2 seasons, which is pretty remarkable.
She's awesome.
And she's in a great spot today. I wanted to pick her. She's a little bit of a pet of mine. She's one of my favorite horses in training. Man, Too Sexy's last 2 races are just a couple of real powerful efforts. And I think it's easier to pick against Too Sexy if she only has one of those 2 races. But the fact that she has both, they kind of corroborate the other. And she is in form right now that, man, if she maintains her form from her last 2 races, they better be tied on today.
I kind of feel bad for her previous owners and that Stuart Grant and the Elkstone Group bought her, I believe, after her June 20th race. And she's been nothing but
She's been
even
amazing. She's been
better.
amazing.
Since she's worn their colors. I do think she got some pace to close into. Especially in her
She
last start.
did.
Trackus actually has the race, going about a 1/5 of a second quicker the entire way around there, and it did come back into her favor as Robin Sparkles and I forget the other horse that was up front there. I mean, they finished last and second to last. So.
But we can say that about her last race, and that's why I said I
But
think.
does it happen here? Or does it not matter?
Well, 2 starts back, it didn't matter.
True.
And she just rolled by those horses with no pace. So that's what I mean. She had 2 different scenarios with the same outcome.
Yeah, I just think I don't know if those horses in that race.
I'll tell you
are
why,
as good
Maggie.
as these ones here.
I think Too Sexy and Pieta Bianchi have a decided advantage over Change of Control today. And that might sound ridiculous with Change of Control having beaten Pieri Bianchi last time.
How does Too Sexy have an advantage over Change of Control?
I think going to 3/4 plays into Too Sexy's hands more than it does Change of Control's hands.
But Change of Control won a grade 3 at 7 furlongs.
Right. I think the 6 furlong.
But she won a grade 3 going 5.5.
Going 5.5. But she also got her ground last time. This is a filly who has a lot of success on wet courses. She doesn't encounter firm ground, and it's 40 degrees outside. She's going to encounter a turf course.
But it's not summer firm.
No.
I always feel like you have the brain. That's why I'm such a proponent of the fact that I think we need to have a going stick. Because the course labelings throughout the year become really subjective. Again, I agree, above pay grade. But I think this is a great rendition of the On and Days. Those 4 horses in there, I just think are, the 3 horses in there.
Yeah.
Even Love and Thunder I thought was a little bit interesting.
Raven's Cry, too.
Raven's Cry ran well behind Too Sexy last time. So, yeah. Race number 8, moving on here, the feature of the day, the grade 3. Oh, Francisco, just drop this replay. We're moving on. Race number 8, the fall high weight, as we see 2 fall high weights in here, whom I think both are fairly vulnerable. Sir Alfred James and Chateau carrying the 131 high weight.
Sir Alfred James coming back very quick off of the victory in the $150,000 money allowance optional claimer down at Churchill Downs last time here. Ask and ye shall receive, apparently, Francisco. Thank you. Here he is, going gate to wire into John McKee. It's his first start since winning off the claim, and this horse has done a lot of running, Maggie. Since September, this will be his 5th start since September 24th. He didn't leave Kentucky until now. He's coming back here, and he's on his hands and knees. He needs the wire desperately here, and it's going to come at the right time. Now he's got to pick up all that weight, and he's got to go, he's got to get on the van, ship. It's just 11 days.
Which, to be fair, though, I totally agree with that. That's why I did not pick him. And
he can't see the lead over Chateau. So now he's going to have...
Wasn't Chateau awful, though, last time?
It's terrible.
But on the flip side, Rob Atras couldn't buy a race from about the middle of August to the end of the Belmont meet, and now it's just guns a-blazing.
And as awful as he was still in front. He's just fast.
He was not in front like he usually is.
No. I mean, he was in front for 10 seconds.
Out of there.
Yeah, but he got. But it was a
fast pace. I mean, I give him that.
If he comes back, and Rob's horses are running particularly well right now. Mm-hmm. If this horse comes back, Sir Alfred James is going to have to do something that he did not have to do last time, and he's going to have to stalk because he is not getting in front of Chateau.
He's not as fast as Chateau. But Chateau is an all for nothing. He's just so hard to trust.
Yeah.
For me, especially with that race coming in here. Maybe he needed it, obviously, the July to September layoff, but that was not a good field. He was even money that day. The horse that he battled with finished 3rd. He finished dead last, beaten 20.5 lengths. I don't trust him. He'll beat me. We both, though, ultimately land on the horse that feels as though he should benefit from things mixing up front, and that's number 2, Green Light Go, reunited with Jimmy Jerkins.
Reunited with Jimmy Jerkins, and he's doing something that I think what he was intended to do in his career. I think he's a dirt sprinter, and they've tried to make him a distance horse. They tried him on the Poly last time at Woodbine. I get it. They're chasing the graded stakes. He gets the blinkers on. He gets Jimmy. He's got that little bit of a fuzzy look. He has enough speed to put himself in position early behind faster horses like Chateau and Sir Alfred James. He's going to be the right kind of price. I thought he and Smooth B both offered were fuzzy-ishes, if you will. Thought Smooth B was interesting because if they really hit, right? If they really hit up front, this is a horse who was a 6 furlong specialist, 5 for 11 in his career. He's the horse that could kind of trip out in here on the Manny Franco, and he'll probably be all of that 8-1. So this is the kind of race where I don't trust the favorites. I want to try and find some prices, and those are the 2 I landed on. I
was all about a 2-6 in here, and then like everybody else I could have had in any kind of order whatsoever. And Smooth B, he does draw in with the lightest weight here. If you're somebody that puts credence into weight.
I can't say a word about weight.
We'll leave that one go. But yeah, Smooth B at times has the credentials to be a major player in here. I could not disagree with you. And I mean, ultimately with Green Light Go, he's a horse that based on his works, yes, he works every 7 to 8 days. Just bullet after bullet after bullet, as Jimmy does bring him in here with that, old school blowout of the 36 and flat a couple days ago, back on November 24th. And you would have to think that those works have come with the blinkers on. He comes out of a race up at Woodbine. I mean, Pink Lloyd.
He's amazing.
Just amazing. The horse that finished third, Not So Quiet, came back and ran a 98. I'm all about Green Light Go today.
Yeah.
Race number 9 is the Tepin. Woof, I'm running out of time here. I'm sorry. Quickly, go ahead. Take the Tepin.
I'm gonna use the favorites in here. I'm gonna use the 9 Mischievous Kiss, who, if she runs back to her last 2, I think she's gonna be really tough. Anador came in with 4 races under her belt from Europe as a 2-year-old. You don't see that much racing really, and then comes here, ran well for Christophe Clement first time getting the money, ignored on the board at almost 7-1. Those are the 2. Caironi, the number 10, is probably the 3rd horse in for me. Going to get Javier Castellano in the saddle today, replacing Gerardo Ortiz Jr. Yeah, I went 9, 7, 10. Those are, and you don't see the race that differently.
No, I just thought my interesting horse I wanted to use was Taswea, based on pedigree. Thought she would love stretching out as race number 10, maiden claimer on the turf course. As I didn't draw in with my 11, but I didn't win any part of the Linda Rice horse, Freedom of the Press. So I went with the ex-Linda Rice horse and Gale Horse Win.
I couldn't get past this horse.
I know she's run faster races, but why? She seems slow. How is she going to be effective
why
going
is she
6
gonna
furlongs?
sprint? Maybe Linda's hoping she gets some pace. Maggie, I mean, this is some bunch.
I know, and I picked another slow horse, so I can't really talk too much. But at least she has a proven turf sprint form.
She does. She does. You took the former Linda. I took the current Linda. I usually don't take these horses claimed from Chad Brown, but I just...
She did do well with, what was her, Corey Scores, doing kind of something similar. So I will give her that and that little bit of a look.
I mean, you have to think Genetic Gem, the first are from Carlos Martin. We talked about him with Pieta Bianchi. Eric Cancel's
serious pedigree. Dan Hafter, a multiple stakes winner, who won the Grade 3 all along.
How bad
Lady
is she?
Rigby.
How good is she going to have to be to win this race?
Not very good. She's a daughter of Declaration of War, and that will do it for us as we have to run upstairs to kick off America's Day at the races.
She's running. I'm walking.
I have to run downstairs, upstairs, sign up for Naira Bets. Let's roll through these very quickly, Francisco. If you're not a member, become a member today. Bonus code bonus 200. As always, make sure you... There we go, 10% win bet bonus at Del Mar for their closing day. Also closing day at Churchill Downs, where they have that Derby City 6 mandatory payout, and America's Day at the races coming up in just a few minutes. Make sure you tune in on FS1 early, FS2, then FS1 again. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Maggie Wolfendale, Anthony Stabile. Best of luck.
Hello, racing fans, and once again, welcome to Aqueduct. We have cloudy skies today. The main track is fast, and the turf courses are firm. And right now, we'll take a look at the changes for the 10-race card. In the first race, a rider change at number 7, my brother Cam, to Jose Lezcano. Lezcano will ride the 7. Scratch number 10, Irie Spice. Scratch the 10. In the second race, scratch